My name is Shadia Siri.
Zahir Motara.
Amber De Sylvia.
Jerome Hoyt.
I'm Crystal Holder, and I'm in studio with Sports Therapy 101.
Yeah. Let's think about what Crystal said. It's basically is like that in terms of people think that you gain hobby when you make a team, but she's saying sometimes you have to pay out your own pocket in order to compete, right? And like she says, also it's not something that is talked about enough, because yes, we know there is a big deficit in terms of funding for sports, right? So, for instance, certain sports get major backing, and other sports don't get major backing. And like for instance, in wrestling in Barbados is small, right? But wrestling overseas is huge. So like you can practically get paid to compete, or you get paid to win competitions at times too. And in Barbados, if you're doing cricket, football or something like that, you would probably get better odds of being sponsored or whatever. But in a smaller sport, it's kind of hard because you have to market yourself. You have to be good at marketing yourself if you want to get some sort of sponsorship. And it may not necessarily have to be like monetary value. It could be clothes or something like that. Maybe supplements or something that can help on your journey to get into at the highest level and represent your country and something like that. But yeah, it's kind of crazy that people think that, but the media shows you only one part, right? They want to only show the big I guess they want to show the leading up to you getting there. They will show you getting there, like being there on the stage, and whatever happens, be it good or bad. They're not going to show the journey that you took to get there. So yeah, I would say that is it for me.
I think kind of piggybacking onto the sacrifice bit that Crystal was talking about. We sacrifice so much, and then when you get tired of sacrificing, or you get tired of the lack of support, the lack of facilities, then people think you're just quitting because you can quit, but people start to get fed up.
Speak on it.
I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions, is that we just quit because we can't quit, but no one ever knows that there is so much lacking in the sports sector in terms of the facilities and even money. I think all of our sports here suffer from lack of financial backing, so that has to be it for me.
What's the question?
What is one of the biggest rumors and misconceptions?
I would also say, well, I can speak more generally in terms of different sports. People always say cricket gets all the money or football gets all the money, but I would also say that is a big misconception. I don't think, as you said, no sport is well funded in Barbados. And some of the smaller sports might cry out a little more, but we all have our own stories in our own sport. Really, truly. We can sing the same song from our own angle and it can sound the same way throughout. Everybody lacking money, lacking funds, lacking support, lacking infrastructure, lacking facilities, lacking everything. Even just knowledge in terms of how to train, when to train, all these kind of things we all lacking. And I think that the people that are not a part of it always have something to say about it because they're not part of the grind, they're not part of anything at all. And so when they look from the outside and say, oh, but you ain't doing this, you ain't doing that, but really and truly, everybody we compete against pretty much train 6 or 7 days a week. But we were here maybe, if I tell a kid to come practice 3 days a week, he can just do sometimes, and he won't be next to LeBron James when he can't have country practices in a week. So the parents also have a big part to play. People on the outside looking in have a big part to play. But all we can do as athletes is pretty much just continue to do what we can do and just shut the outside noise very much and all that, and just continue on that path of you know where you want to be. And as you said, you get to a stage where you do get fed up. And it's just come a time when that's it. You know,
No
I
more
mean,
tickets.
I passed 40 years old, and it's at that point where there's some things that I say, you know, I just done with it because, as you said, I did monetary, I did love it there no more, passion in it no more. So you just get to a point, you're only human. You can only take something because there's only certain amount of things you can do for free. When you start to get older,
It's true. It's very
so
true.
like when you get at that stage, it's just alright. And just like people before us, they came, do what how to do, and then after it's like, I done with this. And we got our sports, and just there, you just see them going. And what's the reason? The reason is that they nothing, they get hurt. So we just gotta do better in terms of what's to be funny, what we want to do. And just shut out all the outside noise. To me, I think I did a pretty good job at it in terms of shutting out the outside noise. That's why when you say what really misconceptions, I don't really have much because
You don't hear them.
I don't hear them.
Yeah.
It's so lost.
Yeah.
Because, and I mean, it's different for me because I'm a team. We are a team sport. I know it's much harder for individual sports because at one point my son played squash, and when he made the national team, I think it was on the 11 or something. They were like, "Oh, you got to pay. You get picked, but you got to pay the ticket to go Guyana or whatever it was, or half or something like that." It was, and it was like, "Oh, we're going to play. We don't have to pay a ticket because we're on the BOA and we're a team sport, so we're more likely to get at least ticket money. You might gotta get money for some other stuff, I think, but I know the individual sports find it hard to go to everything because the support is not there, and it's hard when you look all the way around. So there's only certain things you can do, but if you want your sport to become semi-professional, I suggest that you look at you and see what you can do to make this semi-professional. And don't look at association or organization, BOA and nobody else. Make your own and try to make money off it as a professional entity, however best you can. Start looking at government, start looking at everybody else. That's my suggestion to, especially smaller individual sports. You can make it into something if you just creative enough and use your marketing enough. You can hold your own events, you can hold your own things. You don't need anybody else's help to do that. And you can use that as funding to then help you travel and so on to compete.
All right, we're back in studio with these 4 amazing athletes / coaches, and the conversation so far has been around representing the country, how they feel about it, the pros, the cons, and the struggles and the highs that they go through. One part that they mentioned a lot that we're about to hit on is the media. They feel like sometimes the media is hard on their coverage. And I know for a fact, sometimes the media puts out there what they need to put out there to get the clicks or what's not. But sometimes it also affects the public perception because they don't get the backstory per se of, as the athletes mentioned, of what they went through to get to the point of where they are. So what I'm going to pose to the panel, do you believe that some of the media coverage, the media reporting actually, because a lot of times it's not coverage, they're not at the games, they're not there recording, so they're pretty much just reporting what everybody else sees. Do you find sometimes their reporting can be unfair in that they do not really express to the public what you may have gone through or the level of competition you've been up against? So for example, Shade, you mentioned earlier that sometimes you've been to meets and you're competing against people that you've looked up to for a while. If you're looking up to somebody, it means that they're probably a professional running a track and field that you're seeing on the screen all the time. And you from Barbados, you're working, you're training. This person is training 24/7, eating, sleeping, track and field. But you going to your job and you training on the morning, go to your job, train in the evening. So those kind of backstories aren't ever told. You competing against the best of the best, but they expect you to medal, and when you don't, you're a failure. Give us your perspective on that.
It's interesting that you said failure because back in 2019, when I broke the Barbados national record, I came 4th in that race. So that was one place away from the podium. But once you don't get on the podium around here,
You feel you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I can't remember the exact
Feel to metal.
right. Celia and Gaskin failed to medal.
Yeah, speak on
Right.
it.
So that kind of that negated the whole experience for me because I just broke a national record. First person to run that fast ever in the country, and to come back and see Phil in the newspaper for the whole Barbados to see, and probably Eastern Caribbean, whoever tunes into the nation, was really disappointing, and it hurt me to the core for real. And I think it can be really discouraging for people looking up to me or trying to get into the sport and get to that level of representing Barbados. So yeah, I think that was the biggest disappointment for me in terms of the media.
Before we move on from you, Shade, I actually remember that experience, and correct me if I am wrong, but I believe Sonia was right behind you and she also went under the record. I also believe that that was the first time in history that we had 2 female competitors in the 800 meter on the international stage. So in that moment, I understand where you're coming from, because in that moment, there were so many positives to highlight, but in that moment, they didn't even really hit on the fact that the national record was broken. Right, so I understand where you're coming from in that instance. Just to give the viewers a little bit of backstory as to what really happened in that moment. We continue with anybody else?
Well, listen, I know positivity doesn't sell. So, I mean, all the media got a job to do because they want to sell papers or get views. So, I think they do it from their point of view. But I think as athletes, especially in this new social media era, where you are pretty much a personality with your profiles and how you carry yourselves, I think we could do a lot more in terms of marketing ourselves. Even if it means upping the social media game a bit, showing that backstory of you training, even vlogging you going to work and then coming to train. Because it's something I think the world can see too. Because when we compete at that level against professionals, as you say, I mean, I'm sure that at some point after they compete against you and they follow you on Instagram and they look at it and say, oh, she don't come from work. Now all of a sudden she got to train, and these are things that can impress others. And I think that if we do this may be one way just to take some of the power away from the media and pretty much put our own story up there. So you show your profiles, and when you have ready to make announcements, you make your own announcements. You don't have to go through the media to make these announcements. So you're pretty much taking some of the power away from them and putting some of the focus on you as the person, as the athlete, even when you go away. So I would like to see that when you all travel to the Olympics and you're getting behind the scenes, you all in the lunchroom, you're everybody together, everybody training. You just come from practice, the sure thing. But these kind of things, I think, if we portray more for the average person to see, they would understand a little more of what you go through. I mean, I wasn't playing much during the social media era. I was more coaching, and I find even when I'm coaching, I try to put together videos and put together stuff. So I think we could take some of the power away from the media.
Control the narrative.
When you are a professional athlete or a semi-professional or have that personality to do it and take some of that power away from them, control your narrative. You got to announce your retirement, you announce it. Then they have to carry a story on it. They're not necessarily not getting that story from you. You show all the work you put in. And I think that's just one direction we go, because I don't think there's anything you can do with the media. And this is overseas, this is everywhere. You watch NBA, you watch anything, the players just get blamed every day. But it's either you can do two things. Either you don't want to be involved in social media, you can't take part in what they're saying because mentally it will affect you. You're only human. Or you take it and you control it. You can't control media. To me, they have a job to do as well. They can be hard. I mean, I get stories right with me when I was playing. It was like, and this people that I knew that were close to me who were in journalism, that wrote stories with me. And all I could do was laugh at things and use it as motivation. And sure, we all do use it as motivation at points. But I think in social media era now, we can control a bit of narrative and get away from them. If they want to do with us, pay us.
I like that. You actually made a very great point about the social media and using your own social media. And I actually find now a lot of junior athletes doing that. I see a lot of junior athletes they got their personal page, and then they got the jumpers page, the athlete page, and I love that. I love that. So I would follow them, and I would be tuning in, especially the collegiate athletes that you're not necessarily going to see them. You're not going to be seeing the results as often. So I can see, oh, you went to conference this weekend. We had a good time. We compete. So very much so controlling the narrative, I really believe is something that we as sports people, that being administrators, athletes, anybody that works in sports, needs to start doing. So our story is better translated to the public, because at the moment the public depends on the media, and as Zaire said, the media's job is to sell.
Yeah. The public has then a more personal, relationship
It's-
with you.
it's
Although
true.
they don't know you.
It
they
is
still
true.
Because we got personal relationships with many celebrities. Right?
Mm.
We never meet them. We never talk to them.
Exactly, yeah.
And this is a way to get involved with the public.
Mm.
Show them who you just do. You wake up in the morning, this we gotta eat. Because if you want to maintain your level of performance, this is what you gotta eat. This is how you gotta train. This is what you gotta do. And maybe they got a little better understanding after that.
I just had to drive 14 hours and now I go play a basketball match. Yeah. I get you. Because that side of it isn't often spoken about. I remember traveling. Huh?
We hide it.
Yeah, for sure. I remember traveling with a team once, and when we got to the hotel, the rooms weren't ready, and the whole team had to sleep in the conference room on the floor. They had tablecloths and sheets and all that because the rooms weren't ready till the next day. Yeah, and they had to sleep on the conference room. Yeah. So, but those stories aren't told. And then when they don't medal, it's like, but they were sleeping on the floor. We don't have athletes that necessarily know about sleeping on the floor. It's not going to be a comfortable experience.
When you tell that story,
Uh,
then the association come and think, oh, you shouldn't put that.
yeah, because it can look bad. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
Association, it may be the games, it may be the hotel itself.
Exactly.
Something else. But we gotta learn to put things up there, what we go through, what we do. Because people just don't understand.
It's true, because people really do believe y'all be flying first class and just touching down, eating the best food, staying at the 5-star hotels, just chilling poolside until competition.
Relates to team sports too. I figure that you wanted to make the team, you don't necessarily want to speak on your experience because you don't want to get dropped in the next season. So
That's
that
true.
could be a factor of what you don't necessarily speak on certain experiences.
But you control the narrative too.
True.
That's a big factor because you can tell the truth and you can be like, okay, cool, cut you. We don't need you. We want somebody that can follow what we want.
But then if you put something out there, you get cut. You know who can help you?
The same people, yeah, the truth, yeah, the same public, yeah, 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 it's true, it is true, because you put it out there, so now you have that support from outside, and I very much understand where you're coming from, and I've heard before about that kind of victimization where sometimes where people speak out or tend to go against the grain, I guess I would say. They tend to be victimized for it. And that too then comes down to administration in certain areas and, as you say, getting around it. But as you say, once you put the story out there and the public understands, then you have a public backing.
For me, it's kind of crazy, right? That, like, for instance, from my experience, I've been doing wrestling since 2012, right? I always had a goal in mind. I want to be best in Barbados and outside of Barbados. That was my goal, right? And I would put in the time and the work and everything. The rain could be falling and thunder could be coming down. If you have to get to practice at 4, I can be at practice at 4. If I gotta walk through the rain, that's what you can do, right? That's just how it was. Well, I am still. So when I went to Argentina in 2019, and I competed, because in wrestling you have different types of wrestling, right? And I started doing Olympic wrestling, which you see on the mat, and then I transitioned to something called submission wrestling. right? Which you'll see like in the UFC when the guys are on the ground, they fight, they do their different locks and stuff. That's what I do. I love doing that because I know I'm really good at it. So when I went to Argentina, I competed against, when I tell you top level, I mean, I'm talking UFC level people that fight at UFC training centers and stuff like that, that probably train UFC fighters and stuff. I fight against people like that. I fought against Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioners. I'm from Barbados. Nobody taught me how to, in terms of, in that sport, I wasn't brought up in that sport. I had a coach by the name of Vincent Smith. Shout out to him. He's who made me, right? He, amongst other people. He taught me how to do the different moves that you would need to do, right? And from then, I actually looked on YouTube and I actually researched. Because if you're in a sport, you should research and do the history in the sport. And also, you should check up on the latest trends because every sport have a different trend, you know?
It's always evolving. It's always evolving.
Just like football, you have 4-4-2, and then you got 4-3-3, and then somebody will come in a different formation. So it's the same thing with wrestling. So when I first started, my coach told me, you know what? I can see that you're going to be good. In my mind, I'm like, who, me? Small me? Because I'm not the biggest person, right? I'm not the strongest. So in my mind, I made up, in my mind, okay, I'm going to go against people that are going to be stronger than me, probably faster than me. So I have to get comfortable being uncomfortable, right? Because in grappling, you get pinned to the ground. So you have to be comfortable in an uncomfortable situation, right? So I would put in the work and the time and the hours and stuff like that. So when I got to Argentina now, and I was competing in the grappling competition, the first ever one under UWW rules, right? And I was like, I was super nervous because I never did that in terms of like grappling on that level, that, you know, arena. And I was in my mind, I was like, okay, I come here to win, right? Because I always want to reach for the highest heights. Even if I don't reach it, at least I know I give my best, right? Luck would have it, I guess. I don't know if you would call it luck, but after all the rounds I went through, I was able to come third, and I was able to hold my own. So that was Pan American. So I got bronze in Pan American in 2019, right?
That wasn't luck. That was your hard work.
That was, yeah.
Let me
Well,
clarify that.
I would say, and
That was the hard work.
my mind was blown because I came third against Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioners and guys that fight at UFC, like little me, you know, from Barbados that don't have that sort of level of training. And in my mind, I was mind blown. It's like, right? But when they talked to the guy, when the guys fought me and they came after, they were like, "Dude, you're cool." I'm like, "Me? What? I was only doing this for a few years, you know what I mean?" And these guys were doing it from like young, like, I mean, some at 6, some at 5, crazy ages, right? And they were like, "But you're doing well, like, you're impressive." And I'm like, to hear that from another athlete, that's crazy to me. Because for me, not that you doubt yourself, but you know you're coming from a country of less resources and stuff like that, and you have to put in probably 4 or 5 times the work. Because when the guys eat, sleep, train in that field, you have to do the same and go work. And then sacrifice sometimes sleep in order to do the sport you love and go work the next day. And you still have to, because obviously in Barbados, you gotta maintain your performance. Well, I believe you should. So the same way how you maintain your performance in work, you still gotta do it and replicate it in sport too. Because for me, I look at it as the same way you are in sport, you're gonna reflect it in your work too. So both of them go hand in hand. So like I said, in wrestling, they got something called embrace the grind. So it's like you're not gonna give up. You're gonna keep pushing all the time until you get to reach your goal. That's why I think that my mind is so driven in terms of getting my goals and stuff. But like was said before, in terms of controlling a narrative, you should be able to, because we're in this social media, you know, craze now, right? And you should be able to amass, I guess, followers and show them like your day to day, like what you do, you know, the things you go through, so that they will understand, right? But sometimes to amass people, you have to have a certain image. Because for me, I can tell you, I don't have much followers, right? I'm not one to be on socials that much and, you know, show my life and stuff like that. But sometimes people like to see a certain type of person that they can relate to. Sometimes if you can relate to a person,
But you don't know. If it
Exactly.
can relate to you, 'cause
True.
you know,
Yeah, I would say that too.
Yeah.
Yes, but
because I believe, because I don't think I also didn't think so. But then I just started to curtail the, I really think about what I wanted to put out there.
Mhm.
The followers came, and I
Oh.
find that sometimes I will be on the road and people will like, use that sports everyone. I want to yes, maybe.
Yeah.
Who is asking?
Yeah.
So it doesn't hurt to try. Definitely does not hurt to try. Because at the end of the day, we need that support. We cannot do it alone. And finally, from all of you, what words of encouragement do you have for younger athletes looking on, coming up in the sport, who, especially now with COVID, they've practically lost 2 years of the sport. We haven't had junior athletes really go out and compete. I know for sure in track and field, the biggest junior meet has been canceled for the last 2 years. So a lot of athletes didn't even get to experience curriculum because of that. So there can be a lot of discouraged young athletes out there right now. What are your words of encouragement to them?
Well, for me, I would say don't give up. Keep trying, because you never know. Because if you don't continue to push yourself, you don't know where you can possibly get to. There's always an opportunity. It's just you have to keep on grinding till you get to that opportunity.
Embrace the grind.
Yeah, basically, yes, 100%.
Love it.
So yes, I would say to continue to push forward and don't give up hope. Something will happen. Yeah.
Crystal?
I agree with Jerome. Definitely embrace the grind. Competitive sports is hard. You will have tough seasons, even in the face of COVID, and as you said, athletes missing their chance to compete. And that's all part of the journey as an athlete, professional athlete. There are some years or some seasons that are going to be tough, so you need to surround yourself with those that are supportive. You need to have good mentors and basically get that encouragement and continue to focus on your goals, whatever they are. Find somebody that can steer you in the right direction. Keep training and prepare, basically. Your job is to prepare for the opportunity, because it could come. Something might stop the opportunity, but as the athlete, your job is to stay steadfast and be preparing for the chance that when you go out there, it comes to show up, and then do your thing.
Yeah. I'd have to say, work hard, trust your coach, and use every opportunity you get to run fast, jump far, or beat your opponent in wrestling, beat the next team in basketball. Every opportunity you get, however small, use it to do your best, and it'll pay off in the end.
Well, know that we kind of hopefully getting near the end of COVID, or just moving on from it. I think the last 2 years was rough on a lot of younger athletes. I've spoken to quite a few, and I think we will lose a lot. We have lost a lot, and I think it could have been a blessing also in disguise for a lot of young athletes, because for some that I know who took the opportunity to then work on their personal fitness and body and different things, especially younger ones, that could have been a chance for them to move a lot further ahead of a lot of the world who was just sitting out at home. Because there will be quite a few athletes we lost, but there is also that group that would have continued to work, who now would have excelled and propelled themselves further, and it would have shown who's mentally strong. Because I can't imagine growing up in COVID. Not the way I grew up. I cannot imagine it. And I think that a lot of these young kids that have gone through COVID and continue to play their sport or continue to work on their game, I think they will go a lot further than a lot of us, because is very challenging. I know that they're back out there. I think if they had continued, I think they're pretty much a step ahead. I know that we're getting back to competition. They are mentally strong for what they went through, and I think the same things that would have been taught to us is pretty much work hard, dedication, all those kind of things. There's no way around it. If you want to be a professional athlete, there's nothing that you can do that doesn't involve hard work and time.
It's true.
And that's it. And I think that if they can get, especially in this day and age, parents are more supportive in a lot of things. I think they can get the parent support, family support, friend support, and just continue to see their goal. As you were mentioning, you see your goal, and that's what you want to do. And if from young, if you decide this is what you want to do, just continue to go for it, pretty much. So that was my advice. And I have our slogan for next gen in terms of our academy is dream big, no excuses. And from the time we started, that was my slogan, because I find that a lot of our young people don't know how to dream big. They don't know how to say, I can get here, I can do something. And then a lot of our young people as well, older people as well, always have an excuse. You know, either something or the other. So my thing is, you find what you want, and you don't make any excuses. You just go for it. And that was always my slogan, because a lot of youngsters I deal with, they always have an excuse. Okay, I can't practice because I got something to do. I got homework. I got, you got to find a way to blend everything together. Your parents can't drop you, so you can't come practice. Your rain falling, so you can't come practice. Everything is an excuse. Once that you can find a way not to make excuses, we pretty much go for it. That's pretty much for the younger generation